Hello everyone! In the previous episode we saw the expansion of Mori and the rise of Oda. In this episode we will see the legendary clash between Takeda Shingen and Uesugi Kenshin. The war of Kawanakajima Plain that will last for 11 years. As we remember, Shingen's goal was to invade the Shinano province and conquer all the small clans that ruled there. In 1542, he invaded Suwa Valley. Soon, the coalition formed again. Kiso, Suwa, Ogasawara and Murakami united once again and marched on Takeda. Shingen retreated at the entrance of Shinano province, his stronghold of Fuchu on the border. He then ordered the widening of its moat and raising of its walls to strengthen the defense. The coalition took that as cowardice and marched on Fuchu, making camp overnight just outside of it. This is exactly what Takeda wanted, thus he launched an unexpected night attack over the border on the coalition camp. The attack completely shattered the coalition army. Shingen used this opportunity to occupy Uehara Castle, that was actually owned by Suwa Yorishige, his brother-in-law. Yorishige will be sent back to Kai and forced to commit seppuku. Shingen then took Yorishige's daughter, his own niece, as wife. Many of the Takeda commanders were worried as doing such things could be a bad omen for the clan. Shingen ignored them all. Until 1545, he spent time conquering the south castles in the Ina and Kiso valleys, completely taking over the south of Shinano. In 1546, he once again marched north, attacking the Shiga castle. The siege lasted longer than expected. The lord of Shiga castle was Kasahara Kiyoshige, and he stubbornly refused to surrender even after Shingen cut his water supply off. He managed to resist, hoping that an army sent by the Uesugi clan will arrive to help him. His hopes were not misplaced, as an Uesugi army of 3,000 soldiers arrived from the Kotsuke province to aid him. It was not enough though. Shingen crushed the army of Uesugi and then took the heads of the fallen enemies and had them mounted atop spears. And he displayed them in front of the castle, showing Kiyoshige that no more reinforcements will come to save him. Eventually, in 1547, the castle will catch fire, making Takeda forces to storm it, and resulting in the death of Kiyoshige and 200 of his men. In 1548, Murakami, considered to be the strongest among the clans of Shinano coalition, marched on Takeda knowing that he will be the next target and thus he had to act. His plan was to use the unreliable Chinese crude firearms, but using them in mass. Using them in mass and at close range dealt huge damage to the Takeda charge. 3 commanders of Takeda were slain and Shingen himself was forced to engage in melee combat, being wounded by a spear in his left arm. This was the first defeat of Takeda Shingen. 2 years later, in 1550, Shingen stormed the Ogasawara castles, quickly conquering the entire Ogasawara plain. Now, only Murakami was left to oppose him in the Shinano province. In order to take the main stronghold of Murakami, Katsurao, he had first to take Toishi Castle, that was blocking the pass leading north. Takeda laid siege to Toishi Castle, but somehow Murakami succeeded holding out and even forced Shingen to abandon the siege. As Takeda pulled out, Murakami launched an aggressive counter-attack, hitting the Takeda rear and killing another one of Shingen's commanders. Murakami had beaten Takeda twice. Later though, Takeda Shingen recruited Sanada Yukitaka, a samurai from a Shinano clan that was previously crushed by Murakami. He was a good commander and had a good knowledge about the terrain surrounding Toishi Castle. Shingen laid siege once more to Toishi, but this time with Sanada Yukitaka as his right hand. The castle fell this time alongside with 1000 Murakami soldiers. For his deeds, Sanada Yukitaka was awarded by Shingen with the castle itself and its surrounding area. In 1551, for the first time he officially uses the Buddhist name of Shingen, after receiving the teachings of a monk. 2 years later, in 1553, he will storm Katsurao Castle and finally wipe Murakami from the map of Shinano, forcing Murakami leader to flee into Echigo, seeking help and refuge from Uesugi clan. Within 12 days of the fall of Katsurao, Uesugi Kenshin enters Shinano, with his army set up defensive positions in the north of Shinano. This is the start of the legendary 11 years conflict between Takeda Shingen, the Tiger of Kai, and Uesugi Kenshin, the Dragon of Echigo. After seeing that Takeda is not engaging, Kenshin left the defensive position and marched south to meet Shingen. The two armies met at the Hachiman Shrine, and after a short engagement, Shingen is forced to retreat. Kenshin pressed the advance and reached Katsurao Castle, intending to retake it for Murakami allies. The siege was a failure, but Murakami pressed forward and conquered back their secondary fortress of Shioda. Shingen knew he can't beat Kenshin in the open field, so he fled west to the castle of Fukashi. After 3 months, Shingen will push again. He will retake Shioda and make Murakami daimyo flee again. Then, he once again continued north, entering Kawanakajima Plain. Here, the first battle of Kawanakajima will take place. Both Shingen and Kenshin will only send their vanguards to engage in small skirmishes. Then, Shingen tried to push, but he could not break Kenshin's lines, thus ordering retreat. Kenshin pursued him, and few days later he caught Shingen when he reached Hachiman Shrine. With momentum on Uesugi's side, Takeda forces ordered a desperate retreat. This marked the third victory of Kenshin against Shingen. For the rest of the year, no more major battles will take place, only few light raids. As the winter set in, both armies returned home, and Kenshin ordered the construction of 2 new castles at Katsurayama and Motodoriyama, to strengthen even further the defense of the valley. 1 year later, in 1554, as we remember from the previous episode, the Triple Alliance is born between Takeda, Imagawa and Hojo. This great alliance allowed Shingen to commit his entire army in Shinano, since no more threats will exist from south or east of Kai. Now he was ready to face again the great defensive network of Kenshin. In 1555, the two armies met again, in the south of the valley at Zenkoji Shrine. This is considered to be the second battle of Kawanakajima. The fight took place in the river, both armies sending again their vanguards. What followed was a chess battle for 6 months, each army guarding the opposite side of the river, neither of them fully engaging. The battle finally turned aggressive again when Kenshin storms the castle of Asahiyama. Yet, the new arquebus weapons that Shingen just moved into the castle proved deadly for the Uesugi attack, forcing him to retreat back to a defensive position. After 4 more months, both armies went short on supplies, and also the Ashigaru soldiers in their armies were needed back home to tend the fields. Thus, both sides agreed to make peace, but also Kenshin's term for peace was for the fortress of Asahiyama to be demolished. Shingen agreed and demolished it before returning to Kai. In 1557, Takeda returned with a new plan. His plan was to conquer Katsurayama Castle and use the mountain passage behind it to bypass the entire defensive network of Kenshin. He proceeded in conquering the Katsurayama Castle, and even though it was a brutal struggle, he eventually succeeded. Then he used the mountain passage and marched straight to Iyama Castle, the last resort of Uesugi in Shinano. The defenders managed to hold back the Takeda army, and when the snow finally melted, Kenshin was able to bring reinforcements from Echigo. Takeda were once again retreating. Kenshin then marched on Uenohara and baited there the Takeda army, sending cavalry raids to deal devastating blows. Shingen refused, though, to move. He displaced a small army and sent it north to encircle Kenshin. Then he struck. The battle at Uenohara is also known as the Third Battle of Kawanakajima. The Takeda vanguard engaged with the Uesugi rearguard, yet the Kenshin's line will once again hold and allowed his army to safely retreat back to Echigo. Shingen was once again forced to pull out. After 5 years of war, Takeda grew in frustration, since Kenshin's defense successfully held his advance every single time. Now he realized that finally he met someone to match his power and cunning. 4 years later, in 1561, while the temporary peace between Takeda and Uesugi continues, Kenshin decided to take revenge on Hojo and regain the control of Kanto Plain. Kenshin marched south and stormed both Matsuyama and Kamakura, conquering them, and then laid siege to Odawara. Ujiyatsu ordered his army to rush to Odawara to break the siege. What saved the Hojo clan, though, was not Ujiyatsu, but Shingen, marching in Kozuke to show support to his Hojo allies. Kenshin had no other option but to withdraw back to Kozuke to stop Shingen. Shingen, though, retreated way before Kenshin's arrival. In the same year, Shingen invades the Kawanakajima plain again. Kenshin responded, bringing an army of 18,000 soldiers and setting it at his usual spot, at Zenkoji Temple. This time, Kenshin changed his strategy and left 5,000 soldiers at Zenkoji to act as rearguard and moved with the rest of the army on the hill behind Kaizu Castle. The armies sat for few days with no movement, until Shingen did something. He marched right into Kaizu Castle with no response from Kenshin. Once inside the castle, Shingen consulted with his commanders on how to lure Kenshin off the hill. One of the Takeda commanders came up with a plan, also referred to as Operation Woodpecker. Just as a woodpecker strikes the bark of a tree, to lure the insects out to eat them, the Takeda army at night will split his army in two. Then Shingen will move to the center of Kawanakajima plain with 8,000 soldiers, while his commander will lead 12,000 around to the south of the hill, where he will assault the Uesugi army and drive them down the hill into the waiting jaws of Takeda forces. When Takeda army arrived on the top of the hill, they got totally surprised. Uesugi army was not there. Kenshin ordered the retreat from the hill way before the Takeda army even started to climb in the middle of the night. When he arrived down the hill, he saw Shingen's forces and launched a surprise attack, ordering a full charge to smash into Shingen's left flank. As first line of units began to tire, Kenshin would rotate them with another line of fresh troops into a relentless push. This tactic of rotating reinforcements will allow Kenshin to break through Shingen's first line, and for the first time in all of their encounters, the main bulks of their armies met. And as more soldiers enter the battle, dead bodies begin to pile up. At the center, Shingen tries desperately to hold his army together, being outnumbered. The peak of the battle occurred. A unit of Uesugi samurais, led personally by Kenshin, managed to charge straight to Shingen's position. Kenshin attacked Shingen himself. This was the first and the last time the two have ever met face to face. Shingen, unable to draw his sword fast enough, parried Kenshin's blade with his war fan. Then, Kenshin repeatedly tried to land an attack on Shingen, yet Shingen was able to hold the attacks off until finally his bodyguards rushed to his aid, forcing Kenshin to withdraw. In the meanwhile, the Woodpecker force of 12,000 Takeda fresh soldiers arrived into the battle. This time, Kenshin, becoming outnumbered himself, he ordered a full retreat. This battle came with a huge cost. Both armies had great losses. In fact, the fourth battle of Kawanakajima being one of the bloodiest battles of the entire period of Sengoku Jidai. It is estimated that in this battle, Kenshin lost 70% of his army, while Takeda 60%. In addition to that, Takeda lost many commanders, including Shingen's brother.
For 8 years and 3 battles, Uesugi Kenshin struggled against Takeda Shingen. They met for the 4th time on the Hachimambara plain in Kawanakajima. Reliable spies had informed Uesugi Kenshin of movement within the Takeda castle during the night before the battle. Takeda Shingen split his army in 2, believing this to be a secret. He would lead 1/3 of his men down onto the plain during the night. The remainder, under the command of his leading general, were to climb Mount Saijo, where the Uesugi were camped, to catch them unawares and drive them down onto the plain and onto the waiting spears of Takeda's men. Lord Uesugi, as always, proved to be Takeda Shingen's equal. During the night, he silently marched onto the plain. He now had the advantage as he moved against the unsuspecting Takeda army. With Takeda Shingen's army divided and superior Uesugi numbers on the plain, victory for Uesugi Kenshin was now a clear possibility.
the armies will not meet again until 3 years later in 1564, when they again occupied defensive positions and refusing to engage until finally Kenshin gave the order to withdraw. The two great rivals will never clash with each other ever again. They both understood their place, as Shingen was an unstoppable force while Kenshin was an immovable object. Shingen will never plan again the invasion of Echigo, but it was not a total defeat for him, since Kawanakajima Plain remained under Takeda control. In the next episode, we will see the young Matsudaira Motoyasu in action, Oda and Mori expanding further, and some few other unexpected events. Thanks for watching and hope you enjoyed. See you in the next episode.